the end, there's going to be a certain amount of improvised resolve for both the musician and the dancers. And we do this in class, and sometimes afterwards we actually go into major traveling. But today we're just going to do the basic. At the end of the 4 sets, rising to the hands and feet, and everybody takes their own time. And when they resolve, then the musicians resolve. Okay, guys? Same exercise with the destination hands and feet. Take your own timing, resolve as you see fit. Give us an introduction, please. Same tempo. Then we repeat the entire thing from the left side with a drop rebound so that it's got a heavier weight to it. So, I'll start you off in 4 seconds. Maybe they'll keep going. 4 sets of energies, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
takes a very willing, compassionate teacher, because even the most experienced synthesizer players, there's going to be times when something happens like that. And Jane is excellent about just keeps the class going. Notice the dancers didn't stop. They just kept right on going, and the musician caught back up. So it's, with some teachers, some of the faculty we have here at the New Orleans School of the Arts, we're an isolated company, that kind of glitch or dropping of beats is a little less cool, a little less acceptable. So, that's the fears in electronics is you want to, I mean, it's a fear for pianists, acoustic percussion, so you want to minimize those kind of things. But it's great that Jane is always encouraging of those kind of things, and she gets, and therefore we're all excited about playing for her class. In other words, we don't even bring this stuff up.
I think it's actually good because I'm a firm believer that class is in preparation for what's really going to happen in performance. And I know myself, I've been on stage when tape stops or the wrong music comes on, and I've seen dancers just sort of freeze, and you can't, right? Until somebody drops a curtain or something. You're just out there, yeah, this is the music we've been rehearsing for weeks. So I think it's a good lesson for the dancers to have to maintain if something occurs. And I just want to feed, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was teaching in the studio, and it was fascinating because Natalie came in, they were working on this conference, and I didn't even look over, and after a while I looked over, and the two of them were like signing things, checking things, discussing things, handing papers back and forth, and both playing at the same time. And not a second had gone by that I was even aware that they weren't just playing. And I thought it was quite fascinating.
Pretty soon you'll be able to go and take a lunch break.
So I know you probably have a lot of questions and comments, but if you just jot them down, and we'll try to keep the flow of the class going, keep the dancers warm, and then at the end, ask any questions you have. And Tom's going to play just for this first part, or do you want to try to?
I'll see what happens.
Want to go for both?
What I'm going to be working with, I've never done this before, so this is a really good thing that Jane's so tolerant. I've never tried anything like this. I've studied Limon technique before, studied clarinet a lot. I've written music for dance, to be choreographed. This I've never done. But when Max asked me to do this, I said, what can I possibly do with the pulse? There's only so much a monophonic line can do. What I have is this delay unit. And it's really primitive. It's just little knobs and stuff. But I think I have a tempo from here first.
Sure. When you have a rebound, you want to play.
Do you have different choices of timbre with that too as well?
This time, just because it's getting faster, let's take it as a baby. Listen for a second, dancers. Would you play that? It's in the end. Alright? Thanks, Madison. See, he's going all the way to the end, and you're stopping around 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's 5, 6? Okay. Traveling. Tumbleweed. We call this tumbleweed. I'm from Texas. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Attitude swings in 7. Body drop 4. Suspend 5. Tumbleweed 6, 7, 7. Sherry and Michael. Bring it up. 2, 3. Right? Who's playing? I've never had so many people picture. Play together.
We're gonna get the cat out of the bag.
Suck up the noise. The cat out of the bag. Very good.
Vince? Get up. Sam, hang on.
One thing that makes this a whole lot more possible is to have a pretty decent sound system that's installed in the studio. And fortunately, the dean invested in a nice sound system in each studio, so it's just a matter of bringing your individual sound source and plugging in. But today, I also beefed it up a little bit. I put 2 more speakers in the front, so that you have these that are behind you. They're always what I usually play for in the studio. Play through.
I think Tom. It was the jazz.
Ready? Yes? 1 and 2 and 3. 5, 6.
Oh, what was?
Say again? No, no, he was about,
It was in 7, I did the blue form a couple times. Just getting into it, just trying to outline the form up here. That's the biggest problem I tend to have with, I just started using this semester for this. And
not only did Vince start using this semester, Vince has been playing for dance class, period, for about 2.5 months.
yeah, and just getting into it, the hardest thing for me is knowing which patch to use at the right time, and just get used to it, following them. And there's a 7, like I've got this thing raised, so it's like a 1.
Right.
And the hardest thing is to try to follow them when it's a 7 sometimes.
Yeah, okay.
What's that machine called?
You want to do the quick demo on sound?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
real quick. This is called a MIDI controller. It's a drum cat. Yeah, looks like Mickey Mouse. This has no sound to it. This is just a MIDI controller just like that. It just looks different. I can assign these pads to do pretty much anything I want to do. Like random sets of notes. Okay. Other random things I want to do. Trigger. Okay. See, I'm endorsed by Circle K. I needed something as a surface to hit. You can buy much better pedals than this, but I needed something just that was laying around. And I just put a trigger in there, which cost about $30. And stuck it in there. Just
Is that really a cup for drinking?
Yes. $30. But it works fine. This unit, I highly recommend for this kind of stuff because I've got a bunch of different things. It's got a sequence on board, and you can tap tempo things. That one later. It has a lot of different functionality. This is a MIDI controller, okay? Just like that, just like a keyboard, just for a drummer. This creates all my sounds. You can use any kind of sound module. I can trigger his stuff. I can trigger his stuff. Here, on the drum pad. No, that does not have a sequence. I'm kind of doing this a little rush. That's the basis of it. I assign these different patches, different timbres, different notes, etc. like that. As far as how it applies to the dance class, I have to have a whole slew of patches and certain configurations of kits in order to meet the needs of different class routines, etc. So,
where are the sounds stored for that? I mean, you said that was a controller.
this is only a controller. This is my sound source.
What is that?
The sound source is it's a sound module. This has samples.
Whose is it? What kind?
This one's Korg O1W. It's a workstation. This one's a little pricey because I used it for other things. It's also got a sequencer that I don't use in class.
Tell me how much the module and the cat cost.
This module runs about $1,500. This module runs about this runs about $8. I highly recommend DrumCat because it's just the company. They're very musician friendly. When they put out an update, they send you a chip. All right, so it never goes out of date. I just got this back, and I'm just starting to use the new stuff that I got. As far as sound modules go, this is a little pricey. I bought it about 4 or 5 months ago.
It'll go down.
So this is your personal equipment?
This is my personal equipment. I use this for other things too. That's part of the reason why I got into it, because I had stuff.
Now, in contrast, this is made by the same company, Cat. This is called the Mallet Cat. That's the drum cat, the Mallet Cat. And the sound source is made by Roland. That's the Roland U220. It's about 2 years old now. But it has cards that have extra memory for new sounds. So they do a little bit of research and development, try to keep it current, so you keep buying this one instead of buying that one. But the Dean of Dance bought this. He's been very percussion friendly and he keeps getting the incentives.
What does the cat cost?
The Cat, this runs about maybe about 15 to 1600 for the master operator and the controller. And this is, the U220 is about 800 bucks now. But one thing that's really nice about this, and when Jane was talking about, when Natalie came in, we signed some papers and stuff, I had this really simple thing on here, you know, and dancers love this for like music for dance. You can see the keyboard really easy. It's not as tough, you know, physically as playing a piano. You know, and they can just touch it.
So you use this in your music class as well as a company?
With discretion, yeah. But yes.
Now, Max, there's, like on the U220, there's 220 sounds, right?
No.
Or 100, what is it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was wondering, when you demonstrated for the combinations before, there were no timbral changes. And one of the things we've been talking about in the workshops is changes of texture, changes of melodic contour. So you demonstrate how, I know that's a lot more difficult, because you have to be very quick to the draw. And
You mean within the combination
Yeah.
to change my
right.
timbre?
And see what could happen is one of these, I'm not sure if it's true for the Cat, but you can initiate a patch change, which would mean that
Sure.
the first phrase could be a string quartet, the next phrase could be a brass quartet. On the right you get strings, the left you get brass. Great help to the dancers.
Yes,
Well,
I mean, that's basically what I'm doing here.
I didn't hear that. Did you? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I mean,
They mean within a phrase, within a combination, like twice across the floor with a particular orchestral sound, and twice across the floor.
yeah, you can do that with this. I mean,
Oh, I know.
This is capable.
Yeah.
This is very capable.
I'm asking you to do a very difficult thing, I suppose, because I know you have this really nice demonstration. So could you try that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't want anyone to ask me that. You don't want to do it.
Is it a dial to change the patches?
No, I'll show you.
Which exercise do you like?
No, that's hard.
Okay, no, this is the same one, not the second one. What is it?
You can just do 3/8. I mean, you
No, do the one before this one, the second part of it. The fast 3 one. Hang on.
maybe slow 2 strikes 3 will make that easier for you.
No.
Okay.
It just takes a second.
Oh, Phantom.
Just give me a long interlude before.
Oh, just
Oh, no, no,
that.
it's cool. Just the fast. I'm ready. Here we go.
Non-stop.
But you notice that we're all sort of grappling with keeping, like, one of the things I've always been working on as a musician is keeping the phrase, and sometimes that switches away from me a little bit, but you know, I really want to articulate when they come back to the beginning, of course.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that earlier with some who are not as experienced, that now that percussionists have many more harmonic implications available to them, they also have a greater responsibility, because those tell the dancers things like, I'm turning to the other side, or, you know, whatever, and so it means being more aware of that view.
Sure, I mean, it's obvious that it's in process for a number of us. But I tend to enjoy when I do get into tones and harmony, sometimes I tend to avoid traditional harmony, maybe just do some more modal things or atonal things.
Well, the problem is the medium becomes very daunting or confusing, and this I think the same is true in concert music. Electronic music is somehow perceived as that genre in which musical form does not apply, and the traditional values and aesthetics it does not apply, and it's a false impression. You say, well, it's technology, so it doesn't have to be held to the same standards. I think it's very interesting that the issues of playing for a class are exactly the same, regardless of the instrument.
This opens up a lot of discussion, but what I'd like to do maybe is have one more comment, Richard has the hand first. Then let's keep moving, and then we can, I mean, this is open to debate, certainly. You know, a lot of what we're doing is open to critique, and we're just presenting it in the stage that it's at, and it's in the spirit of experimentation.
One of the things that it's an observation, but also maybe a recommendation for musicians that are exploring this area of music for class, and that is that I think that if you look at the dance styles rooted in a particular period of history when music had a directionality that was maybe linked very closely to harmonic progression, etc., and that sense of forward motion and the shaping of the phrase, that these are things to become really sensitive to, try to find in these instruments a way of sustaining, if you think about like what's happening with the dancer's muscles as they're working, you know, and that sometimes what can happen with these instruments is a sense of a direction that goes boom, and then back boom, boom.
A little less reverb would really help, in general. Less
Cute.
reverb.
Reverb is an effect that makes it sound like it's in a big hall, and it makes something sound very lush and juicy quickly.
But too lush,
So-
too constant.
And also, I mean, it can also become very dreamlike, and we want to keep it visceral. And in fact, I enjoy just what Natalie said, and Jamie attested that I played, you know, maybe half acoustic playing, and half electronic, which I demonstrate for you now. Some things like that. Let's move on, and we'll open it back up to discussion. Tom, you want to try this one second?
The seventh?
You need to know the quality.
Tom, I'm going to take the tempo just a hair faster on this now.
Okay, let me,
Yeah.
The other thing I find playing electronically is that it takes a few goes at it to get the hang. So a lot of times, I appreciate the end of class when it starts. Like the beginning of class, usually they go through routines, and then the end they start developing and doing phrases or longer combinations. And that's what I enjoy. Just like I'm sure for the pianist, you enjoy once it's going around a few times, you start to chat. So I'd like to try.
Once more. The dancers felt that that's too slow. But it didn't look slow, did it?
No.
Yeah, and I felt, I don't know about you, but I felt with this kind of bouncy music, they got more lift before the drop. And then it didn't feel slow?
So let's, just for experimentation sake, let's try one more time. And in the middle of it, we make a tempo adjustment.
Okay,
It can be up or down. Okay.
I'll go up. They'll kill me if I go down.
Why don't you just for experimentation sake, why don't you start off with a little more tempo as you get.
Okay?
And then try to throw a curveball, see if the sequence is. And then halfway through, make a slight adjustment and see how long it takes, see if it even works.
Put yourself on the spot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to be fun. Curveball. Too much? Okay.
That's a deep one.
He asked me for it.
That's still one.
5, 6, and 7, 8.
They just kept going, and I was a little stoned with it. We got back on.
I missed it. When exactly did you enter that bass line on the sample? Just a moment ago? I mean, I didn't see you do it.
Actually,
Do
the
you
way...
play it live out loud to the speakers while they're doing it, and then, or do you do it like in headphones?
No, I usually play for Jane enough that I know some of her things, and I'll prepare it at night.
No, that's
But the better synthesizer players, in fact, I wanted to mention that a musician named John Mitchell, who's a fine pianist and composer and synthesizer player, was someone who turned me on to getting into this. And he's a little more comfortable with composing on the run, just like laying down one part. His technology is a little more suited for, he might play an ostinato pattern, and without having to stop, you can, that can continue playing and it'll add a part. But what I did was, I recorded this first, the bell sound, and then the second take I went through and added the kalimba sound. This is supposed to be a kalimba. Norma, please don't, when she gave me a call on the phone and said, do you have a particular synthesizer called an ETS? I said, yes, I do. I'm so glad that you play the same thing. And in fact, we have two. The school bought one, and I have one. And she says, look, tell me, do you have the whole hard drive microcomputer set up with it? It's called SCSI for short. It's a funny acronym. It means something like System Computer Interface. So, which is a rather advanced, next step from here. And I was like, no, I don't. And those having the hard drive, like they do now have rack-mountable computer hard drives, where Vince has a little module like this. You can have a little computer monitor like a Macintosh on a rack mount, so it's more feasible for a dance class setting. And with that, you can make changes like that on the fly easier. Also, this has a little bit of a memory limitation with Norma's setup. And in fact, we're going to ask Norma to play.
Well, I may. Let's see.
Okay.
I like to use piano with. And we're having trouble with pitch.
But that would also be very interesting to talk about. So why don't we go on, and if you'd like to step up at any point, we'll do that. And she's just saying that. What she's talking about is playing acoustically along with the instrument. And this particular kalimba sound has sort of an out-of-tune quality.
What's wrong
Yeah.
with an inequity in terms of scaling?
All right, check it out.
We pay big money for quarters on the piano.
I think
It doesn't sound so bad when it's on the good.
Yeah, you don't have to stay on top of the tone.
So anyhow, with the computer hard drive, you can do a lot more memory stuff. And but that's more like for a composing workstation. It's a little trickier to bring into the dance. Unless
That much work for that. Simpler what? I just need more skill. It's right there, and the sweet thing just booted up immediately where it's there.
Also, it helps if maybe you have one studio to play all the modern classes in. Like here, it's just never worked out. This teacher likes this studio, this teacher likes that studio, and I give them the freedom to go where they want instead of saying, the modern studio is A.
Actually, though, I think that would change a little bit because the idea now, and I don't know about the schools that you're at, but what we're heading towards is ballet at 9 o'clock and modern at 10:30. Right now, it jumps around the schedule, which means that the musicians are constantly having to jump around rooms, which I think is unfair for them. It's great for us because we get to be, as he said, where we want to be. But ultimately, starting in September, we'll have ballet 9 to 10:30 and modern 10:30 to 12, which means that there'll be more consistency. Max can set up and be in, say, this studio Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday somewhere else. I think that'll make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite setup when I first started playing here, I had this big vocal percussion setup with gongs and tom-toms, and then it was like, okay, now, I played from 9 to 10:30, and then 10:30 to 12. But then 10:30, you're in that studio. So I was like,
Yeah, what is your setup time and takedown time?
well, what you're seeing is a method of situation.
Well, just take one of them, say your first one.
Very quick, ask Jane. I roll this in a card. It's all booted up. I put the mic in front of the tablets, plug it in. I can be ready in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with that in terms of the setup. Also because if the electronics are not completely set up, what Max usually does is start, and in between, if I stop and give corrections, then he continues to plug. So
I fall back on acoustical things. Like sometimes I'll start the class, play acoustically, and then maybe do a floor bar thing or something that's... One more comment, then we're going to keep dancing, and I'd love to get Norma on when you want. Okay?
piano or drums, then they're sort of like, where's all that lush, rich thing? There's no
Loads of lush, rich color in the piano still.
But the process of all the electronics, and I think it's important to make sure that there are sessions where there are just acoustic instruments, and not that every exercise in every class is not power or concept.
Right. There might be a very good solution to that, is to bring the dynamics down to a more realistic level on the electronic instruments so they could become integrated with the whole sound.
Dynamics is a word I was just going to yell to, even within the exercise. That's, we're talking about the harmonics and the timbre. You do have the carriage dynamics.
I mean, when I heard Marjorie play the first number on the concert last night, there was just such a phenomenal sense of dynamic ability, and that's so expressive, and that's a real imitation of the synthesizer, absolutely. I mean, they're making keyboards more touch sensitive, and Jason, Jason's keyboard player, he has that going a little more, and that's certainly an issue.
Although this is, if I can interject.
Yeah.
I just got this instrument a week ago, and also I've never used the synth in class. I always play the piano in class, so like if I seem a little shy, I am shy. Ideally, I'd like to use both, and then sometimes I'll use a conga in class. Although I don't want it to seem like I'm sitting here dancing as well.
Did you hear classical? How did you just
Textures all around.
Curiously, having Ray played for me a lot, I'm curious with you how much you think the responsibility of the instructor to make sure that the students are aware of what sounds. For instance, there are times when I'll have an exercise and I'll say, continue the exercise and stop playing, because I feel that the students take for granted often the sound, and they need to be able to create the feeling in the music and be aware of it, and it's not just secondary, it's primary. And I'm curious how much you feel instructors forget that part of class.
My dream would be for the teacher and musician to spend 10 minutes before class and 10 minutes after class. Because I really see that as collaborative possibilities. They're either intuitive and they work, or else they need work.
Right.
And that kind of planning can help to highlight the musicality issues of what you're working on.
How often does that happen?
Almost never.
It's nice, Jane, when you come up and it's been a guest situation, we really, I think, are more sensitized to each other. If we saw each other every day for years, we would maybe lose some of that if we weren't really careful.
I'm not sure. I think part of it for me was that as a student at Juilliard, we had such incredible musicians that when I got out of school and began teaching, all of a sudden it dawned on me, my God, I'd go in and play in places and I wouldn't know what to do, because while I was a student, nobody ever did anything because the musicians were just right there. And so it's been a goal of mine to work and be synthesized with the musician. Because I feel like dancers do take it for granted a lot. And I constantly at school here tell the dancers, are you aware? Have you gone over and talked to these people and met them, introduced you? Are you aware of what you have here? Because you're not going to get it everywhere.
Thank you.
I think that you're right. I would love to have that time before and after, and I try to make it. Of course, our schedules are crazy.
Sure.
But I really think that it's very important that students become aware of what's going on and when the music is there and when it isn't and what are they listening to. And
the more communication you have with the musician in class that is understandable to the dancers in class, the more they will respect that interaction.
right.
I work with ballet instructors who ask for that, who ask maybe 2 measures of sound, 6 measures of silence in all directions, especially the Allegro work, because it's just a tool to get the rhythm into the body without any external influence.
So we have about, I want to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. So Norma's agreed to give it a try. And a different phrase, we'll do the,
Whatever you like. We have the triplets, the jump with turns.
yeah.
First, before we do that, April Johnson first, April Johnson second, April Johnson fifth, and April Johnson two shorts. Up top. Thank you. Dancers? So Norma, we have, it's in 4 sets. Yada, 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 yada. It's attitude jumping, front, side, back, broad, jet, tail, Can we have just a shade faster today? Ready to go! I think just a little bit faster. Yeah, ba-da-da, yeah, ba-da-da.
better tell me the best way to get to the airport from here. But, you know, it'll take me a while to do all this and to bring it down. I don't know if I'm the best person to do this. When do they actually have to do it? The people take, 10 minutes to do this. It doesn't seem that, does it?
Okay.
I wasn't the best person to ask to do this, and with the whole thing being late.
I'm going to add to it.
5-minute break. Take a breather, get a drink, and then come on to the building. Meeting is here.
Thank you, guys.
How you feeling?
It's great.
Maxims for this group. Pull your act together. Wear a suit, wipe your mouth, stop forcing your wife or husband to get your life together. Follow the schedule, show up on time, stop being so spontaneous. Balance your checkbook, get a life, get a real job. Now, now I'd just like to, what?
The way you were dancing last night, Bill,
And don't dance lambada past midnight. And just to check on how really linear and left-brained you guys really are, how many of you forgot your checkbooks? Raise your hand.
One check is all we need, not a whole book.
Okay, one check. And how many of you forgot your questionnaires that you were supposed to have all filled out? Okay, I rest my case. Now, let's start with the Constitution. This weekend, a lot of people have been scurrying around behind the scenes, getting this stuff all together. I'm not going to go through this word by word, because we've done this every day. So we'll get through the general thing up, and then, you can take this home with you. If there are problems that really seem apparent and that we should solve, we have the clause, of course, for amending the Constitution, which we can do. You can go through those, but please, on your own, look for if the wording is really not good or not right or something that really gives an erroneous impression. Please do that. Page 2, you've done that already. Articles. Membership, yeah.
In terms of that, though, is there any need to
Full membership are for those who are working in the field for dancers, whoever, even dancers. So you're not have tons of people to be able to say only the full membership. Dues each year, and they're set at $25. President, Vice President, Secretary, Treasurer, and chairs of the standing. Historian, which is Kathy's cat. Conducted with the annual conference. That's what we're doing right things around with those people here. Let's go on to the bylaws. Paid dues in December. Thinking, okay, that'll pay you through next December. Those dues paid in December, and what dues get you basically is the journal and newsletters, all announcements like that, and of course you can then come to the conference at the lower rate. So people who paid in December or before, that's for last year, and you will get last year's journal and
then you just pay the journal rate to get that. Of course, the membership dues have supported other things towards the send flyers out to the conference and on. So some of you paid in December $25, and we're going to ask you to then pay again in January, and we pay up.
Quality, the material is without a question that what people have to say is worth dollars. But right now, since we're not in the market of distributorship,
that's going to come down the
that'll come
pipe.
down the road, right?
Yeah,
As a
we're
matter
going
of
to figure
fact,
that stuff out.
we were talking even about doing a collective combination of volume.
Cycle that we're talking about, if you read the current wording you have, as Bill Swayze pointed out, it makes it sound like 2 years.
Vice President, same. Secretary will do the, and here's the important stuff for you to know. The articles to especially what you are doing, telling other people what you're doing. We're all curious. I'm very interested to read what other people do, but you have to get
They're not big
Yeah, this one is only here code of ethics. I mean, we thought, I think, and I haven't called Larry. Yeah,
Larry did.
Yes.
Okay, so that's on.
Yeah, and we did work on it.
You don't have to yet.
Right away.
Is there money available to hire a consultant who has dealt with 501c3s? Because it is very common.
No.
Well, I just met this when we met last night, the volunteer of the arts.
Yeah, volunteer learning. They do it all.
Can we get someone like that?
Yeah, they do it all for you.
Yeah.
You just have to sign things. There are some fees.
He's asking Larry to handle that for us because he's started moving this whole thing through and he is knowledgeable, has been through it some. So, and he said,
Constitution, will that the officer be
well, we're just going to stay it for a second year just because we'd already done it for a year, so we thought, well, are we ready to vote? All those in favor of the new Constitution, signify by raising your hand. Elect officers, since we talked about this, and again, we're not meaning to push ourselves forward. In fact, there's no glory, just arm is in a sling, but yeah, it's a nuisance kind of work, and it's it's real appreciated. So, and I didn't get anybody else, so all in favor of Joe for treasurer, raise your hand. Yes!
Thank you very much. Being half Sicilian, I'm wondering what the skid rate over there
To recruit some membership from Azerbaijan and the Georgian Republic this April.
If it's successful with that this year, I mean, we have we're becoming international.
I wonder if you might mention the European organization and clarify the relationship between them and us.
With the same field, which is going to be a European branch of the field. And I'm going to leave these leaflets about the meeting in November. So this is the information and the application form. But it is mainly aimed for European colleagues this time. But if there are not so many people coming, then we are inviting you to take part in this conference.
Or if you know people in Europe.
Yeah, that's particularly important. Any names that you know, get to her.
Please help me organize a meeting. You surely know some people in Europe and you could mail this information for these people.
May we have a list for you? I mean, would you have a piece of paper that we could write?
The European Guild be developed by the European musicians. And so some of you might wonder why we shouldn't all just go there in November. I really global guild.
But it's considered a branch, not a separate entity, otherwise we already start fighting again, like we're doing.
Well, I think that absolutely, it's more about motivation. I've noticed the people who got here, and for the last 2 years, gotten here because agreed to continue as historian, and when we have announcements, I'll let her say a couple of things about that too. And in this, we've had interest in doing research about the field. We have no before the end of before you leave. Okay, Catherine, you guys need something before you leave.
Can I make a suggestion to that group? As part of your question for salary and thing, because that does matter to us all, but I think one of the questions that goes along with that is
Florida State. Greg and Ray. Their chairman, Nancy Smith-Baker, who I know well, is just the most supportive person, and I think we can bring this thing off there and make the effort. I think it's got to be a shot. It's Tallahassee, yeah, so it's not in the frigid zone at least.
Do they have alligators there?
yes, they do.
Okay. Got good alligators. Now, so something that is, let's talk about the other success here, was in Arizona. Rob, tell about the sort of mini festival that happened.
Well, after that, American College Dance Festival, I wanted to take musicians to agree to come to Arizona and not really make money, but just break even. So I was trying to interact, not in a workshop, but in the real thing. And filling out papers and still playing the class. Certain reflexes are really So in addition to that, we had Lyle Monkey Movement, and we also did a session where
We're hosting the combined Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. We have 500 dancers, 38 departments. And my department is very supportive of the music movement relationship, and they've given me 3 teaching slots, and they're encouraging me to come to the original. March 4, 5, 6.
Okay. Now.
Write an article about what went on at the conference, and we published it in the newsletter. And lo and behold, if Paul Organisek, who is the executive director of ACBFA, got a hold of that, and he was very but they are trying to encourage West, and wherever your region, there's another one not a member, and start to plan mini conferences.
No, they weren't paid.
To get us there, like our departments are go, and the department, that's a cheap way of bringing this another thing off. Also, most important,
To teach dance accompaniment, which as we know gets slighted in almost every music curriculum. I don't even think it's addressed in most curriculum.
really exciting. Yeah.
It would be valuable in terms of people who are out in the field.
Yes. It's in dance. Yes. It will be very rare that we'll get somebody. So
Just
that's
as an
okay, a couple seconds for announcements. Several individuals have talked to me about little things that they need to announce, and so I'm going to give time for that.
So I wanted to encourage.
So this was a lifetime appointment.
Informed about the field only through Path to Tech. So I would welcome and encourage other people to write articles for publication. Help yourself to the articles there. If you weren't at the first 2 conferences, there are some reports that will catch you up. I don't think of them now, but I put copies of my book there and brochures.
Okay, stop.
Background material, I sometimes wish when I was writing these reports that I had more information about individual members here, so I can throw them in, that, people, Richard Sent is doing this and Rob is doing this. So I put some questionnaires there, and I realized that because I didn't even have time to look at stamps. Send the resumes of your current dance work and dance affiliations. Things I want to say again, I don't want to be the only one in the field that has published books. There is a great gap in the literature. There's a great contributing and disseminating information.
Do you want to mention that we've agreed in meeting that for the historical, like the videotapes, particularly historical videotapes, not necessary. I guess it's anyway. It's going to be a broad court. We've got to decide.
Thanks, and I guess we sleep.